Today's video is going to be about the Andy Tran designed Tahoma Field Knife. I mean, just wow. My name's Brian and you're watching Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. Thanks for joining me. Like I said, today's video is going to be about what may be the coolest knife I have. I just got this. It's the Andy Tran designed Tahoma Field Knife, manufactured by TOPS Knives and designed by Andy Tran from the Inner Bark Outdoors YouTube channel. I'll put a link to Andy's channel below because he's got a great channel and he's a really great knife designer too, among other things. So what I thought we would do is, I'm trying to figure out what the best way to demonstrate this knife is. This is a kind of all-in-one option. And the brief backstory on this knife is Andy is a professional cinematographer, videographer, whatever you want to call it. And he does a lot of outdoor camera type stuff, you know, filmmaking. He's a filmmaker, I guess is the best way to put it. Anyway, he does a lot of outdoor filmmaking. His film gear weighs around 40 pounds. He's already got that lugging in with him everywhere he goes. So he decided he wanted to try to come up with a knife design that was like a one-tool option. It would replace, you know, a heavier, maybe a small hatchet or axe and his regular knife, but still not sacrifice any functionality. So he designed this knife. We'll talk about some of the details, specifics of why he did, you know, there's some of the features and why they're there in just a minute. But I did want to go ahead and, before I get this thing dirty, it's brand new, we're going to do some use stuff. Before I get it dirty, I want to go ahead and do the close-ups and show you the details and just let you really see what a great job that TOPS Knives does in the manufacture of these knives. I mean, everything about this is just first class. And so I want to give you some close-ups and we'll talk about the specs and then I'll be right back. Okay, this is the Tahoma Field Knife by TOPS Knives, designed by Andy Tran. It's a pretty good sized knife. Overall length of 13 and 15/16 of an inch. The blade length of 7 and 5/16 of an inch and a blade thickness of 3/16 of an inch. The knife's made of 1095 high carbon steel with a Rockwell hardness of 56 to 58. And the blade features a black river wash finish. The handles are tan canvas micarta and they have kind of a brick red liner. The knife weighs in at a reasonably hefty 1 pound 2 ounces. With the sheath is 1 pound 8.3 ounces. Okay, a couple of features I want to show you about the knife. First of all, it has a double edged secondary edge on the top, 2 1/4 inches. And what's good about that is if you dull your primary edge sorry, I bumped the camera, then you got a secondary edge just to kind of maintain for fine tasks, for skinning or whatever you might need. Also has this notch on top of the blade that is for scoring bone or wood. You can break wire with it. You can, we're going to try, I think that's a good point, the only point probably on the knife to strike a fire steel or ferro rod. And you can notice, I want you to notice this kind of differential little line here. That's from the differential heat treat. TOPS treats the edge differently than the rest of the blade. So that lets you have a little bit harder edge for edge retention, but you still get the little softer, the rest of the blade, not quite as hard so it's not brittle. You know, a lot of people said this notch here was a concern because they had problems with this buck hoodlum, had the big notch in it, and there was a lot of blade breakage. But due to the differential heat treatment, there's been no issues with TOPS. Also has a finger choil here. It's got a lanyard hole here with a slight thumb ramp with some jimping here. That lanyard hole can be used to pull, actually to pull bullets from shells for emergency fire starters. It can be used as a lashing point to lash this thing as a spear, and also for some other alternative lanyard type grips. It's got the tan brown micarta, canvas micarta handles, and you can see it's got the kind of brick red liners there. It's got divots on both sides for a bow drill type divots. Has a little chisel on the end, pry bar chisel for breaking stuff up or chiseling or whatever, and another grommet hole. I just want to show you the fit and finish on this thing. You can see that grommet is brass and it's beveled where it goes in. I mean, that's just a nice little feature. They don't have to do that. It definitely makes it just really nice, and just this thing is just super tight as far as fit and finish goes. It's just, I haven't found anything at all that's not just absolutely perfect on it. You know, every knife, TOPS knife, is individually serialized. This one is, whatever that is. You can get this thing with a partially serrated blade if you want it. You can get it with a false top edge. If you're living in an area that doesn't allow you to have double-edged knife, then you can get that with a false edge where it's just a single main cutting edge. So there are a couple of variations you can get and to suit whatever your needs are. So that's pretty much the details. You can see the thickness of the blade, 3/16. Let me go ahead and give you a quick look at the sheath, and then we'll see how well this thing actually performs. All right, so here's the sheath with the knife in it, and a couple of things about the sheath. First of all, on the front of the sheath, it has a little extra pouch that you can put fire kit or any other emergency supplies you might want in here. I think it's a good opportunity, in my opinion, for a fire steel, maybe even a little sharpening stone or something. It's maybe some tinder. It's got a buckle closure and it is adjustable, so the thing expands out to be a pretty good size little pocket. Then on the back of the sheath, it's got, not only does it have a good size belt loop, you could put a good 2 1/4 inch belt in that, I'm sure, full size belt. It's also got these attachments here that you can actually unsnap here for Molly or Powell's type webbing, and you can thread these through and hang them in whatever webbing system you have. So the back of it has a lanyard at the bottom for leg or whatever you want to do, and then at the top you've got a couple of grommet holes here and for lashing, and a couple more down here, so there's 4 grommet holes, and then it's got this double retention strap system. Now I ordered this, if you order it from Andy Tran's website, and I'll put a link below, you can order from TOPS or Andy Tran. As of the time of this video, you save about 20 bucks ordering it from Andy, and he's the designer, and it probably benefits him a little better than if you order it straight through TOPS. So I would encourage you to do that. But I'm not sure if you can get this from TOPS, but if you contact Andy, it comes standard with Velcro. I asked him if he could do the snaps, so he can get the snaps done for you. So if you contact Andy, you can get this done with snaps instead of Velcro if that's your preference. But it fits in there really solid. And then it just has a plastic liner to kind of protect the blade. And basically, that's it. But it's a very good system, I think. There's no problems with the retention on it. Snaps up. I like the snaps myself. They're a little quieter maybe than the Velcro, and they're also, I just think Velcro gets dirty and gummed up sometimes and gets stuff in it and it just quits working. But all in all, not a fancy sheath at all, just but a very functional, nylon kind of sheath. So, there's a lot of people making aftermarket stuff for this, but as far as I'm concerned, this suits my needs just fine, and it comes with it. So, it also comes with a little TOPS whistle, which you may have seen before. If you haven't, you can look at my TOPS, my Brothers to Bushcraft video. But that's the sheath. So what I thought we'd do now is just go ahead and I'll readjust things, maybe move a little bit, and we'll see how well this beast can perform in actual chopping, cutting knife stuff. Okay, so I found a pretty solid standing dead poplar tree here, and so you can hear it's pretty solid. So since it's dead already, it's really kind of come loose at the bottom, but it's not rotted. Thought it'd be a good opportunity to see how well this thing will chop, because it's big enough to chop. That's one of the things that Andy wanted to be able to do with the knife as part of his design. I want to try to do something a little real world use instead of just sitting in the backyard, because this is just a cool knife and I think it deserves that. So we'll chop this thing down, cut it up, and see. I mean, it's really, we could knock it down. It's leaning against something up top, but we'll go ahead and do some chopping, just because you can see this is about a 4 inch tree here. So let's get to it. All right, so first thing I want to do is get some of this bark off here. It's really good fire resource. Good man, I'm gonna save some of that. So, but we're pretty good right here. So this looks like we're in camera here. I'm gonna go ahead and chop it. This is ooh, it bites in so good. Yeah, so this is definitely not rotted wood. I'm going to show you also the handle design got this curved down, and it's specifically so you can grip it on the end and really get a lot of leverage for chopping. So I'm kind of got my pinky hanging off the end here, but even right here, it just really gives you a lot of leverage. So I want to show you that. It's doing a really great job. I mean, it's not an axe, but it is a very, very, very choppable knife. Anytime you're doing some chopping, you're gonna work a little bit. It's a way to trying to keep it's visible in the camera for you, but I kind of got to go around it a little bit. I figure you want to be looking at my butt. Well, if I can hit my target, probably be a little better. I'm not left-handed, so I'm using two hands to try to aim it a little better. So I think we're pretty close to done now, but timber! You can see it was broken at the bottom right already, but pretty good job. Okay, so I cut this piece off, pulled the bark off of it so you can see it looks a little different. Instead of cutting another baton, I'm just going to use this big stump here and see how well that works. We'll try and see. This is a big knife, and some people, because of the double edge, are concerned that, well, we're not gonna build a baton right. But what you can do is you put your baton, you hit the back side. So normally you're gonna baton on the end here, and you can do that. It's not gonna really hurt anything except mess your edge up. But we're gonna try baton on the back side, and we're gonna try using this big piece of wood here and see how. It's kind of awkward. I may have to get a different baton. We're gonna give it a shot. Okay, that was stupid. This gigantic baton, which weighs more than the piece of wood I'm trying to baton. Where are my forearms out? I went and recovered a little piece of cedar that I had. We're gonna go ahead and start kind of back in the same groove, but with a more reasonable baton. Because ideally what you want to try to do when you're using baton on the handle side of the knife, you want to hit pretty close to the wood so you don't get that lever effect. Well, that thing was so big I couldn't hit close to the wood. It was causing the knife to lever down in. But as you can see right now, by hitting close to the log you're batoning, the knife does not want to twist on you or rotate on you as much. And this is a hard piece of, they say that poplar's a soft wood, and it is, but man, this is some seriously hard dead wood. I'm beating the heck out of this knife, and it is taking its sweet time about getting through. I know you can see how hard I'm hitting this thing. It's a man, I've never seen any poplar this hard before, and this definitely, see if I can put it on, maybe get some better transfer of the mass. I may or may not edit some of this out because I'm sure that you don't want to see me doing this, but I'm beating the heck out of this thing. Look at you see that? I was just chewing it up. Here we go. Look at there, finally. Whew. Some hard stuff. Let's put her down again. Now see how well it'll work now that it's smaller. It should be a lot easier now. Oh yeah. Try to put this back on this wood so I'm not putting my knife blade in the dirt. I always try to avoid putting my knife in the dirt if possible. Okay, so we're gonna go one more time. And every time you get smaller, it should get a little easier because you got less wood that you're beating against, trying to force apart. All right, well, I hope you can see that I have beat the heck out of this thing, and with no issues with this notch in the back. So what I'll do now, we'll get a little bit closer, maybe try to make a feather stick or something, and I'll catch my breath. Okay, so you can see, by the way, that no worse for the wear. The edge is not rolled in any way, shape, or form. It's just, you know, first class. And that was a really crazy, amazingly hard piece of poplar. So now, this thing's got a, so it's a big knife, no doubt, but the finger choil lets you really get choke up to get some close-up work done. So we're gonna try making a feather stick, see how well that works. Because this is a really big knife. And typically, big knives don't necessarily work as well, stuff like this. But some of that's got to do with edge geometry. Some of it's got to do with the ergonomics of big blades and the control you're able to have with them. But by using this choil, I'm able to really get some really good control. And the fact that this thing has such a really good keen edge on it is able to allow me to get some really nice curls. And then what you know, for fire starting anyway, what you want to do is, I typically want to start out with some bigger, thicker ones, and then towards the end get they call different things, but I call them just like, you know, teeny tiny curls. And I have to tell you, this is I'm really impressed with the usability of this gigantic knife, and the fact that you can get those really like micro curls. But this edge is just so, and that's after batoning all that we batoned, and yet I just want to show you some of these micro curls I'm finishing up with. So like, let this thing focus in, focus, and you can look and see right here those little bitty tiny curls. So what I'll try to do now, let's go ahead and clear out a place in the pine stall here, and we'll see how well we can get if this thing will work for a fire. And I have to tell you that it's my understanding that it doesn't really have a good place on it to strike a fire steel, at least the back of the blade. My experience with TOPS knives, and which is limited to this knife and the B.O.B. Brothers Bushcraft knife, my experience with TOPS knives is they don't strike ferro rods very well. It's just a reasonably sharp spine, but not quite. Andy said, by the way, told me that you can use this notch here. I don't see why you can't. That thing is pretty sharp. Let's just see. Oh yeah. So I think that's gonna be the bomb. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold this down here on this. Make sure you can get that in the camera and you can see it very well. And we're gonna try, see if we can get a fire going. Look at there, look at there. Oh, come on, burn, baby, burn. Almost, a little bit more. You just can't give up. There we go, all right. So, and we're not gonna start a fire because it's not a good place to do it, but you can see that took me a little work, but it got it done just from a feather stick. No artificial tinder, no fat wood, no anything like that. So it's definitely, the knife can get the job done. So I will tell you that what I was using was, here's the notch. You can see the notch. I kind of caught it in that where the angle of the notch was right on it, and man, it's throwing some gigantic good sparks. Those people that say you can't strike a fire steel with a Tahoma Field Knife, incorrect. You know, and that may kind of deal with the edge a little bit here, but that's really just for scoring and stuff like that, so I'm not too concerned about that. So there we go. There's only one thing left to really check out on this knife. One more thing really I always like to check on every knife is, and I should mention, by the way, that it's specifically written in TOPS warranty literature, do not, in capital bold letters, throw a TOPS knife. All I'm saying is the knife is very well balanced. Okay, so just do a quick recap. This is again the TOPS Tahoma Field Knife designed by Andy Tran, and so it's, first of all, this is not a low budget knife. This knife retails for somewhere in the $200 plus range, so it's not. And I bought this one, by the way. Nobody gave me this one. I've been thinking about it ever since I saw it the first time, and I finally just saved up a little bit and bit the bullet and made the plunge because I really wanted to see this knife. I've seen nothing but good reviews about it, and I'll have to tell you, I am totally impressed with this knife, my first initial. I'm going to use this over the next few months, of course, and we'll just do a follow-up, but I don't foresee any issues with this knife. It just, every single task that I normally do in a review, batoning, it did really great. You saw me stupidly trying to use a 20-pound baton that was 4 inches just because I was being lazy, but when I got a more reasonable baton, it went through very well. Great job on chopping. Obviously it's got enough mass, and the handle ergonomics are great for chopping. There's a couple, plus just really great for everyday use. It's got the choil here for fine work. You saw what a great job it did on feather sticks. I mean, I was totally impressed. This may be the best feather stick knife I've ever used, including Moras. I put this up against a Mora as far as carving, and I know that is a very, very extreme statement, but I'm telling you, this thing was phenomenal. Striking a ferro rod, it actually did really good. Using the little notch back here, I don't think it really significantly impacts the ability of this notch to do what it's designed to do, which is to score. And finally, one of the things that makes this knife so usable is that it is extremely well balanced. If you're looking for a really, really solid, serious, one tool option knife that'll do everything you need it to do and then some, and it's extremely well made, will last your lifetime. You can pass it to your kids and your grandkids and probably your great grandkid. This is truly an heirloom quality knife that is designed to be used. If you're looking for a really, really good knife, it's big, but I don't think you can go wrong with this. I'm so impressed, it's unbelievable. So anyway, thanks for watching as always. Thanks for subscribing to Survival on Purpose. I put a new video out every Friday. Please, please, please share this video with your friends. And if you'd like to support this channel, please check out the Amazon links below. But I encourage you, if you want to buy one of these knives, go to Andy Tran's website, innerbark.com. I think it's inner-bark.com. I'll put a link below. Andy's got a little better price on this, and it supports him as a designer, which is always good. So once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident, so be prepared. See you next time.